Nicholas Pinnock, you starred in a show called For Life. Could you believe that you got out of jail in the second season premiere?
Yeah, it was fantastic. I think it was a very good decision by the creatives and the network to basically switch the show around and turn it on its head, but still give you the same thread and storyline and through line of what this man was going through. But he was fighting for something else this season as opposed to last season. So it's same characters, same story, but in some ways a completely different show, which I thought was really clever. Really understood that.
Yeah, when I interviewed you last spring and also interviewed your showrunner, Hank Steinberg, last spring, I didn't get the feeling that this would really be in the cards. But that was also before the show had been officially renewed. The pandemic was still quite young. The
Mhm.
Black Lives Matter movement had not been reignited the way that it was. And I imagine that all these were factors maybe shifting gears for the second season.
They definitely were. I mean, it was really difficult to ignore what was going on in the world at the time. And it seemed like a great opportunity to be able to tie in some of the themes of isolation, which is what the prisoners went through in season one, but then what everybody in the world was going through, while we were making season two and just before. And also, the the discrimination towards different colors and cultures one way to another that we were dealing with in Aaron's case, for instance, having his community and his color be a factor as to why he was taken into jail and unfairly and unlawfully imprisoned. And then you look at Black Lives Matter movement and the injustices that are happening to Black people and anti-Blackness and all these sorts of things. So the two themes kind of tied in together, and it was, I had a long chat with Hank and some people at ABC, and it was just, it just made sense that we could tie these things in and really connect with an audience that was sitting at home and understand. They would have a better understanding of what was going on if they could see more of what Aaron had gone through and what other people go through. When you put them in the same position, they were in the same position. So it was, I think it was a very clever move. I'm really proud that, they were brave enough to do it.
What can you tell me about adapting Isaac's story, but kind of hyper modernizing it for the second season by putting it during the pandemic?
I think the great thing, unfortunately, about Isaac's story is that you could set it in any time period and it would still be relevant. The injustices that happened to him and other people like him have been happening for so long. And I think with creative license, but still keeping a thread of what was going on with Isaac, I think allowed us to play with some of the themes. And, if we had set it in the 90s, that would have isolated and alienated a lot of people who, it would have been a time period thing. And then I think it would have to have been a limited series, but we wanted something that could grow and expand and do 2, 3, 4, seasons. And so, and it was always inspired by Isaac's story as opposed to based on Isaac's story. So again, there was room for license there. And even though it's been set in modern day and Isaac's story was in the 90s, every episode was inspired by things that Isaac had told the creatives and that, we had discussed. And, he told me one story which turned into, I think, 3 episodes, or one version of that story, became a thread of something else. So it was always infused and had an essence of Isaac in it all the way through.
Yeah, can you share any of those inspirations for the second season cases?
So the stuff in the prison, I think that was episode 5 or 6 in season 2, if my memory serves me well, where he was getting prisoners out during the COVID episode, one of the COVID episodes. And, I think a certain amount of prisoners got out. All of that was inspired by the fact that Isaac had 20, while he was in prison, he had managed to get 20 of his fellow inmates out of jail. um, and creating new case law and all this sorts of stuff to be able to help himself. So even though Aaron was already out of prison, it was about going back and helping and getting these prisoners out. Because we saw him, I think, maybe get 4 or 5 people out in season 1. But since Isaac had gotten 20 people out while he was in jail, there's so many other people he's gotten out since he's been out of prison. So, all of that was, they were all contributing factors to some of those storylines.
I guess now that you are filming something else, when you look back on For Life, what will that experience mean to you?
It's a great experience. I mean, we haven't gotten a season 3 yet, but hopefully the journey's not over. We don't want the journey to be over, so I'm not writing it off just yet and looking back on fond memories. Hopefully we've still got some more new memories to make. But so far, I will say the experience has been not just educational as far as having information about the judicial system, not only in the US, but across the globe, at my disposal. But also, I've come out of that job a better actor and a better man. For me, it's really given me a different sense of being, about who I am, where I fit in, what it is I want to do, and how I want to do it. Definitely. And I met some amazing people, and forged some wonderful friendships, and the most amazing colleagues, and learned a lot from them too. Yeah.
It's good to hear that you're hopeful about another season. Just going to the cancellation though, with ABC. So
Mhm.
often we hear about, cancellations or those kinds of decisions, and then the people who are actually involved in the projects only find out about it like the same way that I do, by reading it in the trades or
Yeah.
something. So I'm wondering if that was the case here, or if ABC talked to you.
Oh my goodness, no. ABC were really, really, really good in talking to me and making sure that I knew everything that was going on, and as well as Doug Robinson and Alison Greenspan, who were the lead exec producers on the project. No, I was kept up to date with everything. I think that I have a very good relationship with ABC and all the creatives. We're all in this together, and there was no information that was hidden from me or came late. I didn't have to read it on social media. Thankfully, that wouldn't have been very kind. But no, they've been very kind to me, and I want to take this opportunity to thank them for allowing us to do what we do in the way that we wanted to do it for 2 seasons. And I have no bitterness and harbor no grudge towards them for cancelling, and I totally understand their reasonings, which I won't go into now, and their blessings to find it a new home. So really, really thankful to ABC.
That's reassuring. What do you think it says that For Life was ABC's lowest rated drama, but also their highest rated drama when only looking at Black viewers?
I think that, so it's a twofold answer. I think people are watching television very differently nowadays. And I think that was a massive contributing factor. People, if you look across the board, unless it's a very well-established program from a while ago, people are watching television they've got these watch lists. And I know that from a lot of what my fans of the show on social media have told me, that, it's on my watch list. I can't wait to watch season 1 and 2. I'm going to do it on catch up. People aren't turning up to watch live television as much as they used to. And that's a growing thing. Fewer and fewer people are turning up once a week to catch a show that they really like. Most people want to binge watch, or they want it at their disposal whenever they want to watch it. And so in season 1, it became the overall #1 catch-up show. So that tells you that there is an interest for this show, and that there were people watching it, just not on a Tuesday or a Wednesday when it was broadcast by the network. So I don't think that, the numbers being low in season 2 were a reflection of the audience not being engaged. I just think a lot of people are watching television differently. And the fact that it was #1 for Black audiences, I mean, listen, we could get into a whole conversation about, culture and color bias, and the fact that, that whole community feel like there's not very much for them on network television channels. So they don't normally rush to those channels to go and seek things out. And the fact that, it wasn't #1 with other cultures and other color audiences, I mean, who knows? But I know that it was definitely something that was discussed with everybody. And as far as viewership was concerned, the interest was absolutely there. And people are watching the show. They're just not watching it in the conventional way that, was needed for the ratings to be high enough for ABC to want to, take another risk and give it another season.
What would you say were the big moments for you in season 2?
Big moments in season 2 were, I think it was episode 4 where it was a Marie, Darius, Aaron confrontation thing. I think Aaron finding himself, what was great about season 2 for me as an actor to play was the fact that we had all these under the surface things that Aaron couldn't explore because he was in the confines of his prison cell and within the institution of the prison system. And there was a prison life and rules and everything that he was living by. So we didn't explore the reasons why he wanted to get back to Marie so much. We knew that that's what he wanted to go back to in Marie and Jasmine. But, it could only go so far because there was so much more story in him being in prison. So then when he came out, all of that could come off, and there were layers and layers and layers of underlying emotion, the stuff to do with his mother, the stuff to do with Darius, his best friend, and all these things. But in answer to your question, the biggest thing for me were the last 4 episodes. The Black Lives Matter, Andy Josiah storyline. I think those were the hardest and the most impactful for me, and I believe most of the audience as well.
I talked to you last year, and you talked about playing, I think, 5 different versions of Aaron.
Yeah.
You really explained a lot about his physicality. You talked about the physicality of acting like nobody I've ever talked to, actually. I'm wondering if you played the same number this season or how you changed them.
Well, no, because because he was out of prison, there was a version of prison Aaron through his, you could see that he was having shades of PTSD and, flashes of light that would make him react. And so the prisoner out of prison, Aaron was one of the ones that, I fashioned, and I had to really think about how is that going to be played? What's that physicality like? And if you look in season 2, what I played with as far as his physicality was concerned was there was no more fear behind what it is that he was doing because he was free and he has his own practice. So there was a lot more of a confidence, uprightness about him. He was still, hunching in his shoulders because I think, what I had explored and what I was playing for was to understand that he was institutionalized over a certain amount of time. And it's going to take a while before all of those shades of Aaron were gone. But they were less and less and less and less. I mean, the Aaron with the prison warden wasn't a thing anymore because they had become friends and equal colleagues. And actually she was working in the law firm that he and Henry had built up. So that was no longer a thing. Aaron as the prisoner rep, that was no longer a thing. So, some of these things just naturally changed. But then we found Aaron the father and what that was like. And he was very tactile with Jasmine and very quite gentle in a way that we hadn't seen him before. And then there was Aaron the activist as well, which was another thing. And his energy was very, very different, which would affect the physicality. So lots of different things going on, and small, subtle things that, have the audience picked up on it or not? I have no idea. I didn't watch it, so as an audience member, I don't know. But I know that for me, as the vessel for Aaron, from the inside out, there were these subtle things that were going on all the time, right? From, day one to, the end, that were really intrinsic to who Aaron now became compared to who he was.
Excellent. Okay, well, Nicholas, thanks very much for chatting with us again, and we look forward to seeing that Western that you're shooting in Romania.
Oh, I hope you do get to see it and enjoy it. Thank you so much, Ronnie.